Yeah, bang bang hill. Just a follow up from this morning. Yeah, um, yeah. Well, I told you it was. I was one of three of us. There was me, my sister Dinah, and my brother Keith. Yeah, we all lived in a house in Churchfield Road next to the railway, and opposite a big park. Yeah. Anyway, so like I lost my dad when I was 1 years of age. So I never had a father figure at all, and I was always a little sod, always causing problems for mum, causing problems for my brother Keith, my sister Dinah. Keith was he was really hard boy, yeah, and I used to get lots of clumps from him. He never mucked about my brother Keith. If you upset him, you get a clump, yeah. So that's expected, and he made me a very hard boy in lots of ways, yeah. But I was, as I say, I used to I used to drive my mum mad. I was driving my mum crazy. When I say crazy, I mean crazy, yeah. She couldn't control me as such. I was just a little sod, always never where I should be at any one time, yeah. She'd tell me to go there, I'd be somewhere else, That's the person I was. I was a little sod, yeah. And it like my mum was the best mum in the world. I mean, she had about 4 jobs, trying to give us everything. I think the went there was about 10 shillings a week, something like that. And in them days, it was hard to get money. Yeah, you had to work. My mum used to say my mum had 4 jobs, so it goes to show you what she was like. And we used to go to the jungle cells and buy us clothes in the jungle cell, and like sometimes it was either too big or too small. But my mum was the best mum, and she was the best mum, and she was a really good cook, fantastic cook. But my trouble started really. I was in the infant school. I was a little sod, I was a little sod, and I don't know if just because I didn't have a dad or what it was, but my brother taught me to be a little hard boy, and I was always fighting kids in the school, infant school that I was in, East Acton Infant School, and Miss Pengelly, the headmistress, I was always there. I was always in outside the office, getting told off and this, that and the other. So Miss Pengelly told my mum that, I'm a bit of a handful, and the way things are going, they won't be able to handle me in the school no more because I'm fighting all the time. They're putting slipper gloves on my hand to stop me fighting. I'm using a slipper gloves hands as boxing gloves, and I'm fighting continuously, don't stop. So my poor mum didn't know what to do, and I used to get plenty of clumps. Don't know about that. I used to get plenty of clumps from my mum. In them days, it was a thing that mums did. They, all kids got clumps around the head. I mean, we didn't have a dad, so my mum had to really be hard with us, yeah. And so I was at school. I used to drive her mad at school. So my mum decided that my Aunt Nell should look after me for a little while. That's Adam Faith, yeah? Adam Faith was my cousin, Terry Nellums, yeah? So my mum put me down Aunt Nell for a little while, and even my Aunt Nell couldn't cope with me, yeah? I was just crazy, man. And then she went to her brother's Don's house in Hammersmith, and Don said, look, I can tell you what I can do, yeah? I can get Ray, look after Raymond for you for a couple of hours while they're going to work. My wife Gladys, my auntie Glad, and Dom were good people, good people. So they had me in the house looking after me. But in the attic, my auntie Gladys, her brother, was my uncle in a way, I suppose. Her brother had just come out of the army. I can't remember too much about it, I can remember bits maybe like I don't really remember as such, yeah. But when I used to go to the house, they used to leave me sometimes with Gladys's brother, yeah, my auntie's brother. I suppose he's my uncle really in a way. And I used to go upstairs and play games with him, He was in the army, so I used to get all his medals out, put them on the bed, and then it become there was more involved. Things got a bit out of hand. I remember once my brother came upstairs, and I was naked on the bed, and my uncle, this my uncle, my other uncle, was in there with me naked on the bed, and my brother said something to him, and he had to go to my brother. My brother went downstairs, and he must have been doing things to me for such a long time. I can remember certain things that what happened in my life, yeah, what he did, what he made me do, and it all started, I think, with the drink called Guinness, yeah. I remember this one so well because he was drinking Guinness, yeah, and drinking it out of the bottle, it got a big frothy head on it, yeah, a white head, and I remember this. That's one thing I can always remember, that part of it, yeah, because that's something that stuck in my head. And he had the white frothy stuff in the glass of Guinness, yeah. And I said, how's that white stuff getting to the top? And he showed me, yeah. And he done it sexually, where he obviously, so he must have masturbated or whatever he did, yeah, to get the white stuff out of his private parts, yeah. And so, and he said, why don't you taste it, see what it's like, yeah. So obviously I tasted it, and then he said, well, taste it like this, it's better when it comes direct from here. And then he used to get me to play around, suck his penis and all that sort of thing, yeah. So I didn't know it was the wrong thing to do as a child, yeah. I didn't know it was wrong because I thought it was a game, yeah. And he was doing it for me for ages and ages and ages, so I didn't really take much notice of it. It's only that one time where he took that little bit, he went that little bit too far, yeah. Where he penetrated me, you know, and it was, I don't know how he done it, yeah. I'm not quite sure how he done it, but he done it, yeah. And the pain was so much, and I didn't want to scream, because if I screamed, he said you'll get into trouble. So no screaming, yeah. So as a kid, you don't scream. You only do as you're told. And so I done as I told. I didn't scream, and and he done it. He was doing it quite a lot. And this one time, this has been going on for ages and ages and ages. You know, I was always. I can remember so well. Yeah, I was always messing myself. Yeah, I couldn't hold myself. I was going to the toilet, but by the time I got to the toilet, I'd already messed myself. So I always get clumps from my mum. My mum would always clump me around the head, go mad, because I was always messing with my trousers and my pants, and it was always running down my legs. So you can imagine, he'd penetrated me, and he just done something to me that for some reason it made me poo myself like that, yeah. And so and it was going on for ages. It was going on for ages and ages and ages. It's only that one time that he'd gone too far. He'd done something that he just gone that little bit too far, where he took something out. He took his thing out of my mouth, and that white stuff, which I know now what it is, come all over my top, all over my jumper. So he tried to get it off, you know, but it was still there. It was the smell of it, you know, and he couldn't get it off, yeah. So when my mum came up to pick me up with my sister and my brother from the house, I was so much. This is since it happened, I found it hard to walk, and my mum would always say to me, "Do you want to go to the toilet? Do you want to go to the toilet before we leave? You know, all right, there's no more messing on the bus, you can't do this, all right? Do you want to go to the toilet now, yes or no?" And I go, "No, Mum, I don't want to go." But what would happen, I couldn't hold myself, you know, and we'd go somewhere and wait for a bus or whatever we'd do, walk, and I couldn't hold myself. It just come naturally, yeah? I tried to hold myself, and I couldn't. It just fall out of me. And this time, my mum had the money for us to get a bus. And what had happened, I maybe walk with my mum and my sister, my brother. If not my sister, my brother, it'd be just me and my mum. And we'd walk, you know, to where we got off from Hammersmith. If my mum didn't have that money, we'd walk from Hammersmith to Acton, which wasn't that far, but from a kid, it's quite a long way, yeah. And I can remember loads of times that my mum had gone, "You want to go to the toilet?" I go, "No, Mum." And I'd be walking home, and I go, oh, quick, and I'd mess myself, and I'd get a really, really good hiding. And many a time, I walked home with just my pants on, where my trousers, or sorry, with my trousers on rather than my pants, because my pants had been messed really bad, yeah. And if I wasn't wearing pants, I'd just walk home with nothing on. I'll do. Yeah, I was only a kid, 4, 5, and my mum would go mad. But this time we got into a trolley bus, and something happened. I don't know what happened. He must have penetrated me, done something to me more than he'd ever done before. Yeah, penetrated me maybe too far. And when I sat on the bus in my mum's lap, I felt that I was gonna. I couldn't hold myself. I was gonna release myself. You know, I couldn't help it. You know. And my mum said, "What's up?" And I went, "No, mum, nothing." And I pooed, right? But it wasn't poo; it was blood. And it went on my mum's lap because I was sitting on my mum's lap. Well, my mum just like chucked me off. "You little sod, get off!" And as she said that and knocked me to the floor, not knocked me to the floor, it was like knocked me to get off here, and I fell over. And she screamed because her whole dress, her whole mum's dress, was smothered with blood. My mum couldn't make it out what happened. And my mum was crying, and she took me back to my aunt Gladys's. She said, "What's all this about? What's all this about?" You know? And then that stuff on my front, my mum knew what it was. And then she went to Hampstead Police Station, my mum, and my Uncle Roy was the station sergeant at Hampstead Police Station, my Uncle Roy. So when he went mad, my Uncle Roy, he come round the house with loads of police officers, I can remember that. Got hold of my uncle, was upstairs in the loft, and arrested him for sexually abusing me and penetrating me, this, that and the other, and took him away. I was crying, I didn't know what I'd done wrong, you know, I was getting really, really told off bad, and then I was getting cuddles and told off and cuddles and smacks and everything, yeah. So I didn't know what I'd done and what was right and what was wrong. Anyway, and then my Uncle Roy took me to the police station and sat me in the room with my mum and talking to me about what I'd done, you know, and I was fighting because I can always remember my uncle saying to me, "You don't tell your mum. You know, you tell your mum bad things can happen to your mum and bad things can happen to you. You keep it very quiet." So I didn't know what to do, you know what I mean? And then my Uncle Roy put it in the way. He said, "Look, I bet he's told you not to tell us, hasn't he?" I went, "Yeah, he did, yeah. Please, Uncle Roy, I'm so sorry, yeah." And my Uncle Roy's a police officer. And Uncle Roy got all out me what he'd done. And this guy is supposed to be my other uncle. He got my Uncle Roy and then police officers really just smashed him to pieces. They nearly killed him. I mean, they done things to him you wouldn't believe. They smashed him to pieces. And he went to prison for 7 years. So it must have been really, really bad. And, you know, lots of things happened. I mean, I remember my mum saying that I went to hospital as I had a cyst under my groin, yeah? But what it was, it split me so bad that it had to be sewn up. I was kept bleeding and all this, that, and I took me to the hospital and I was in hospital quite some time, and they sewed me up, you know. I was ripped to pieces. It's crazy what people can do to young kids, and it seems to happen all the time there, yeah. And because I was still at school, at the infant school, with Miss Pengelly, I was about 4, maybe a little bit more. My mum obviously went to the school, must have told Miss Pengelly what had happened, and they put me back to the infant school. But when they took me back, I became worse than what I was before. I mean, I was fighting every day, maybe bashing up whoever was in the playground. I was just going mad, and it's like, and I was still doing things that you wouldn't imagine, like pooing myself all the time and sitting in the class, and you know, and everybody's going, "What's that smell?" And it's me, you know, that I pooed myself. I couldn't hold myself at all, you know. And anyway, so in the end, because I was fighting everybody and causing so much problems for the whole school, Miss Pengelly decided that they couldn't cope with me no more, you know. So I said to my mum, "Look, you know, my mum loved me to death, mate. She loved me so much, my mum, and she couldn't cope." And they suggested that they put me in a home for a little while, to sort of like get myself together, trying to find somewhere for me to go. I don't know, but I was took to, we lived right next door to a big railway station, you know, Churchfield Road, Acton Central. So all the big trains, steam trains used to come through. You know, it was always no electric, it's the steam trains in. So my mum got permission to take me to a home, yeah, and the home was in Wales. I can remember running to the train and getting on the train. It was one of the old-fashioned trains where the doors open up themselves. You open them up, you get on the train, you know, and all the smoke goes in. And anyway, we went to another station. I believe it to be Richmond Station. We got off at Richmond Station and we got another train and then another train and then a bus or whatever it was, so wound up in where we all wound up. I always thought that at the end of it, when I see it on television, it was Wales, yeah. A big home in Wales. And obviously my mum took me there and I was like left there. And that's when it started there. I mean, at first we was all put into these big dormitories, yeah. And it must have been on my record, on my medical record, that I've been sexually abused, penetrated, or whatever it would be. So they must have known that I was like, you know, a kid that, you know, can be penetrated again, I suppose, I don't know, or whatever. Things are right or things are wrong. And you think about these things and you think to yourself, wow, you know, this happened to me, you know what I mean? And why? You look at me now, yeah, and look at the person that I am now, yeah, and I think to myself, no one could ever get away with that. You know, I'd fucking take people's fucking heads off for that now. You know, I'd cut the cock off. I would actually cut their cock off, yeah, and rip them to pieces. By my bare hands, I'd rip their fucking heart out, mate. I'd rip the heart out of their fucking chest, you know what I mean? That's the sort of person that it made me, you know, and that's the sort of person that's why I got put away as an IPP, because I'm a fucking nutcase in that respect. Not now, but then, yeah. That's only what these people have done to me that made me like that. And it is that, I mean, all my family are straight. Why can't I be like that? Why can't I have what they have? Houses and fucking holidays and have a good life. Why have I got to go through all this shit about being out of prison all my life and fuck it, you know what I mean? Anyway, forget about that at the moment, yeah? So when I'm in the home, we was put into dormitories, yeah? And in the dormitories, there's more boys than girls. It was simple. There was girls in there, a bit more boys, because I suppose, you know, there's no room for girls in other dormitories, so they put the girls in there, but mostly boys. And we used to go out to the beach and up the old buses, the old coaches, really old coaches, yeah. Just go there and, you know, and I thought, oh, this is beautiful, you know, but at night times, when I was there, you used to see all these women and the guys, doctors or whatever they were, school teachers, I don't know what it was, yeah, but trying to talk to you, educate you, but I couldn't be educated. I was just dyslexic. I just couldn't be educated. I wasn't really interested, you know. And I just played. It was this a pain in the butt even there, yeah. And when we were put in the dorms, I noticed it after about a week that people would come out at night times. You know, we go to bed about 7, you know, and we get maybe a cup of cocoa or something like that, yeah, little cup of cocoa. Go to sleep and all this and the other bit. I've noticed sometimes that people come up and take kids away, and the kids are saying, no, I don't want to go, you know, but the kids go away and then they come back sobbing, you know, like really sobbing, and I thought, what's going on? It's like, this is crazy, you know. And anyway, it went on and on and on for a couple of 3 or 4 days, and one day they come up to me, a woman, and they took me away to this room, yeah. And I was running what it was. All the kids was not sobbing, but going, no, I don't want to go there, please. I don't. And they took me to this room downstairs. They took me downstairs, under the stairs, under the floors as such, like a basement. Obviously, now I know it's a basement, you know. And took me under there, and it was all rooms there, yeah, rooms where, you know, where people were in, you know, and they put me in a room, yeah. And I remember them putting me in the room. And I don't really forget I'm a child, yeah, and I don't really know things what was going on in my life, for right or wrong, you know. Even though that I kept proving myself, you know, you know, you think you've done a bad thing. You've done a bad thing because now you're proving yourself and you're getting clumps around the head and you're getting this, that and the other. So therefore you think, poor, I ain't saying nothing about it, you know, whatever. And then they started by me, you know, I'm going to a room and there'd be a man there and he would unbutton my top and muck about with me and take my trousers down and play with me and all that, and asking me to do the same thing to him, you know. And then it got to a stage that I was doing it regular to them, things that I'd already done to my uncle. And I'm thinking, is this what it's all about? Is this what kids do now, yeah? And I can remember when it all happened to me, everybody loved me, yeah? Even Gladys, my uncle's the one who done it to me, her sister, his sister, you know, my Auntie Gladys, was married to my Uncle Don. She was always in my house, but it was weird. Anyway, so forget about that at the moment, but I'm in the home. They're like giving me sweets and things and other things, and I'm going back to my room, going back to my dormitory, and I'm sleeping and wake up in the morning with blood on my sheets and all that, you know, and I'm pooing in my bed, and I'd get told off, and it meant, you know, they just sort my bed out, and it'd go on and on and on. It just, and sometimes there's a woman in there or a man, and they get me to do things to them, and it was like, it was one of them things that just, anyway, in the end, my mum had come and got me, yeah? And when it happened to me the first time, that being sexually abused, my mum and everybody looked after me, bought the sweets and everything. So when I told my mum about what's happened this time, she must have thought, listen, you ain't getting away with that again. Then it's happened, and it isn't happened. You know, we're going to give you sweets and look at that. So as this mum pushed it aside. But me being sexually abused, it's like, I used to mess myself so much. Honestly, it was like I couldn't ever hold myself. And I remember one day we went to a place called Ruislip Lido in Ruislip, and went there, and in the beach, there's a little beach, going in the swim, out in the water, walking out of the water, and just weeing myself and pooing myself in the water. It's crazy, you know. And when we got out of there, I go and get myself all dried up with my brother and sister, and put my trousers, my little shorts on, and then get onto the bus. And my mum would always say to me, do you want to go to the toilet, you little shit? Before we go, do you want to go to the toilet? Don't you tell us when we're on the bus that you want to go to the toilet. Do you want to go to the toilet now? And because I used to hold it, yeah, and I used to feel, oh, I liked it. I liked to hold it. It's crazy that what they done to me, whatever they done to me, why? And I'd hold myself, and then it'd be too late. I couldn't hold it anymore. And I was on the bus, and the bus hadn't gone yet. And I was just sitting there, and I just pooed myself really bad. And my mum could smell it. She didn't see it, she smelled it. She gave me the biggest hiding of my life, yeah. Really give me a good hiding, which I deserved, yeah. Smashed my legs, everything. Took me to the toilet, and made me toilet, and you know, and everything, all the clothes, the shorts I had, the pants I had, everything was full of poo, yeah. So my mum had to put it under the water, and then, you know, and then my mum put a towel around me, and I went home with a towel, yeah. And this happened in my life so much. So much happened to me that I used to poo myself all the time. And it got to the stage where I was like, my life has just been crazy, yeah. And my mum loved us all, but because my mum was always working, we was with my brother and my sister. My brother keeps us a bit of a sod, you know what I mean? And I never felt really loved because I'm the youngest one, causing all the problems. So I used to go down to the basement and in the basement they had a coal shed, and I got into the coal shed and just stayed in there with my little shorts and a vest. Yeah, it's freezing cold or boiling hot, you know. But whatever it was dirty. Yeah, I was in there. Coal everywhere, all over me. There wasn't much, no coal in there. It was all dust. So I'd get all this shit over me, and I'd come out. I'd get a good hiding for being in there, filthy, dirty. But where we was in the basement, we was on the first floor. Where we was, go down to the basement to the toilet and the bathroom. So when I come out of there, my mum would go mad, and I'd go into my mum would drag me into the bathroom with freezing cold water, because no one could afford to have the hot water on a meter. So mum would be washing me with the cold water, and I'd be crying because it's cold water, mess everywhere, poo myself. Oh, it went on for years. And I always remember that I found a box in the coal shed, yeah, and it was a cardboard box, but I caught a mouse, and I put hay in this cardboard box and papers and stuff, and I used to go and get food for it, you know. Is there anything left on my plate? I was to take downstairs, but because, you know, everything my mum gave us, we ate, because the food was so beautiful, no one had nothing, left nothing, but I had to hide things, yeah, and take down to my house. And then round the basement, there's these big rocks in the wall, yeah, like rockery all around it, and they're all full of spiders. So what I used to do, I used to get a twig and get the spiders out, put them in there, take them to the mouse and whatever I could find, insects, and take them and give them to the mouse, and he'd eat them, yeah. So this time, I'm doing the same thing, but I'm doing it with my finger, you know, and the fucking spider come out, and he didn't bite me, he just grabbed hold of my fucking finger. I thought he bit me. So like a lunatic, now I'm starting to change, yeah. I just wrecked every spider what was around the rockery. Just kept going mad with sticks and stabbing them and sticking them and killing them, yeah. Anything, insects, I was just stabbing, killing them. And I was just becoming a maniac. And my brother Keith, being that the person that he was, didn't like the fact that I had a mouse. And so what he did, he killed my little mouse. Listen, I'm a big boy now, he must have killed it. He told me that he got away or whatever, but I think he killed it anyway. It's forget, you know, as a kid, as only a kid, not now, as a kid, yeah. So he told me that he'd gone to heaven and this and the other, and he said it died. He got away or something like that. And anyway, so but I missed my mouse. He let it go, or he killed it, yeah. So I missed my mouse, and I was always in the skulls, and my mum, love her heart, I mean, she loved me so much, mate. She loved me so much, but what I used to do, I used to get out of the coal skull, out the other end of the coal skull, and go up by the stairs, get through it, just get through it, and run to the fair. Climb over the fence in the park, run to the fair and get on the fair and play and go with the rifles, yeah, with the Colt rifles, and to catch to do all the sweets, and work there and pick all the corks up from the floor and all that sort of thing. But now I'm about 5, 6, and my mum, she's gone mad, because she now was like petrified that I'd be sexually abused again, one way or the other, because I was always running away. I never had a father figure, you know, and I always running away to men, help me out and do it. So my mum was always fighting, best to go to the fair, you know what I mean? And my mum would come and find me in the rifle range and go mad and get home and clump me around the head and all this and that. And my brother would clump me around the head. And I always suffered with migraine. Really, really, really bad migraines, yeah. I used to get really bad migraines every day. I'd wake up crying with migraines, being sick. It's what's happened to me as a child, you know, 2 years ago, a year ago. It's what happened to me, yeah. And the doctors in them days, they just wouldn't bother, mate. They'd give you aspirins or whatever they give you as a child, stop this, stop that. But I was always ill. And my mum, she had still 3 or 4 jobs. And one morning I was walking up, I was going to a bigger school now, yeah. I was walking up the road to go to a school called John Perrin, walking up Perrin Road towards it. It's quite a big road from as a kid, you know, because the wall as a kid is like a million miles high, isn't it? And I was always frightened. I used to see my brother jump on the wall, run across the wall, and I tried once, and I was petrified of heights. Yeah, I'm still petrified of heights now, more so. But that might have been the reason why, you know, because I got on the wall, I get pushed off, and I was always frightened. Yeah. So me walking up the road every morning walking up the road, at the top of the road, I go up there over the bridge and go to the school. And one morning walking up there, up the road, there was this old boy in a wheelchair, and he asked me to come over, and he said to me, "Oh, where are you going?" I said, "I'm going to school." He said, "Oh, do you like sweets and things?" I said, "Give me sweets." And then he started putting his hands down my trousers and playing around me, yeah. And I thought, well, this has happened to me before. I don't know what goes on in my life. It seems to be, I'm the only kid it happens to, yeah. But in them days, it seems to happen to a lot of kids. A lot of kids kept it in, yeah. It's kids of my age now, men at my age now, that it's happened to them want to keep it in rather than let it out like I'm letting it out, yeah. So he used to do it all the time to me, give me sweets and all that, and play around me, yeah. So it just got to a stage where I thought, nah, this ain't right. So when I went to school, this happened about 4 or 5 times. And I was with some kids. We used to fight 24/7. We used to fight all the big kids in John Perrin School. My brother was there, Keith was older than me. He used to fight, and I was always wanting to bash up the people that bash my brother up, or whatever. Because no one bashes my brother up, you know. I was just crazy for wanting to be behind him, yeah. Anyway, I said to all these kids that I used to muck about with, I said, "Why?" I said, "There's this busy told me about this guy giving me sweets and touching me up and things like that, and I don't think it was right." And we all got together as a little posse, about, what was it, 8 now? I don't know, 7, 8, 9 maybe. Got together and went to see this old boy in a wheelchair, and he was like in his glory. He loved it. He loved this, all us kids there, you know, talking to him and him sitting on our laps and all that shit and giving us sweets. Didn't want to touch us up, didn't want to touch me up with all the kids around. But when we said, "Oh, let's go into a house and we could do things in the house," he took us in the house. And when he took us in the house, the worst thing he ever do, because all of us, about 8 of us, 9 of us, we all sat about him, yeah? We bashed him up. You know, kids together like that, it's a handful when he's in a wheelchair. And we nicked all his money, all his sixpences, half a crowns, 40 pieces, 2 bob pieces, and all them sorts. We wanted a £10 note, but we couldn't find no notes, or a pound note. We couldn't find none of that here. But we found loads of coins, 40 pieces, sixpences, farthings, halfpennies, all his money. So we took it. You know, we took all his money. We had bought sweets and lollipops and everything. My mum wanted to know where I got the money from, and she said, "Don't stop lying, do you?" And we decided as kids that, do you know what? This is a good thing for us, because Acton Park was murder for these old boys that used to sit around the park on the benches. And you know what they're sitting around the park for on the benches? To get all the young kids, girls or boys. You know, they want to be played with, don't they, at their age? They can't do nothing, so they're getting all the kids, buying kids sweeties and giving them bits of money, so, and telling them to keep quiet and doing things to little kids. So one day I was the first one to try it, and sat next to the old boy, and there he is. "Hello, what's your name and what shit, and where do you live, and okay, what's going on? Do you like playing around and all that? You know, tickling my belly, and can I tickle your belly?" And, you know, things, it gets worse and worse and worse. And I thought, yes, you're one of those, you know. And then, yeah, after he's trying to touch me and he sat down, I said, "No, I've got to go." He gave me some sweets and everything, and I said, "I'll be back tomorrow." And I come back 8 or 9 out of my mates, and they all got into him, and we bashed this old boy up, mate. When I say old boy, I'm now X amount. He was more like my age, or a little bit older. and we bashed him up to hell, mate. And we got all his money, everything off him, and we was doing it all the time. In the end, I think the police were looking for us because we used to bash up our boys. You know what I mean? It was murder. Anyway, I loved it. I loved, doing that, yeah. And it never really happened to me again. That being sexy and molested as a kid, but all it made me was become a violent little boy. Violent, very violent, and doing things you would never think that a young kid would do, And then I became a robber, getting into the back of shops, climbing the back of shops near where I lived, and going in there, nicking all the tobacco and cigarettes and chocolates and things like that from my mum and everything. Money out the till, no money in the tills, only fruit and sixpences, eightpences, all that sort of thing. But and my mum would love it, and all us kids would love it, nicking everything like that, And I loved my life then, And then my brother Keith playing stone fights. We played stone fights in the park. And my brother would always put stones in the mud, and cut my head once. And I thought, one day I'm going to get you back, and I did. He was in the garden one day, playing around. He loved doing his gardening, and I threw his stone, and he hit me on the back of the head and split his head wide open. And then I ran, and when I come back, I got the biggest hiding of my life from my brother Keith. He bashed me up something terrible. Really bashed me up here. I'll never forget that. Anyway, yeah, and and I just started going AWOL, doing stupid things, just getting money. And one day I was over the park, and there was this guy with his dog, big Alsatian, playing golf, knocking balls everywhere, crash all over the go. And I was talking to him, and I said, I was playing with the dog, Harry, his dog, and I had a dog called Girly. This Harry loved my dog Girly, and he'd give it pups, but after a long while, after a long while together, and we let him one day play around, and he done the business, and she got pregnant. Anyway, this guy looked after my mum, giving my mum money for the puppies. But anyway, he's playing golf, and his balls are going everywhere, so I said to him, can we pick the balls up for you? So he said, yeah. Look, you pick them up, and I'll give you sixpence, threepence, or whatever it is per ball. If you pick them up for me, I'll give you X amount of money, like 2 shillings or half a crown at the end of it, or whatever. It's a lot of money in them days as kids. Because a fucking pound note, you could buy so much with a pound note in them days, mate. So I believe you can't buy nothing now, but in them days, a pound note, you could buy a whole week of shopping. Right? Anyway. So we would pick all the balls up. He would look after us all the time. And Harry, my dog, loved me. And this guy, whose name was James Bond, and James Bond, what's his name? Sean Connery. I couldn't believe it. I told my mum, and my mum said, yeah, he'd been around for the dog, and this, that, and the other. And he's famous. 007, the first 007 was, he lived in this big house on the park. We lived that end. We lived in the shit end. We lived in the fucking bad end, right by the level crossings. He lived this end. Yeah, it was a really big plush house. And one day, we see him go outside out in a car, which I know now to be a Rolls Royce, yeah? He went, and I decided to get in the house and have a look at it. Well, the dog, Harry, knew us anyway. So Harry was a guard dog, but because I knew Harry, he isn't a guard dog towards us. So when we opened the big fucking windows, massive big windows, Harry's come by, like a lunatic. See us, oh, Harry, stroking him, his little tail going, like lunatic, big, massive Alsatian, really big, And he let us get in. He was loving us and done us, but we thought, well, we can't really do much in the house for everybody, all the kids. He doesn't know all the kids, right? So I put Harry in the basement, opened up this door, shut him down there. He started crying. Anyway, so he walked in the house and looking around, and there was all these big naked pictures in the bedroom of women, maybe. And I thought, oh, look at these women, all naked, pictures of them, right? And it was more like a scene kind of his missus or his birds, yeah, all around the house, all around the bedroom, loads. And the house is absolutely stunning, mate. And went into the bedroom and went into his other room, and he had these guns in a big cabinet. And I thought, fucking hell. And there was like a big one, a little one, and a couple of other little guns in there. And I thought, oh, look at this, shotguns. And we were looking around, I thought we'd better get out now, decided to go. We've been here too long, so we go. We got clean it. We took our shoes off when we got in there because the muddy on our shoes, he'd know we'd been there. We let Harry out, and when we went, shut the windows, and we went bump. But my cousin, Adam Faith, yeah, his brother was called Roger Nellums. Roger. So Roger, being a little solid he was, we got hold of Roger and got into the house. I went in the house first, got Harry the dog, put him away down in the basement, and then my brother, my cousin Roger Nellums come in the house, showed him the guns. He took the guns, some Holland or Barrett, some fucking really expensive guns, yeah. He took them away and shored them up as sawn-off shotguns. And now, not so much now, but later, I'll get found out these guns are worth like something like 20 or 30,000 pound each. Then, you know, there's a big thing in the paper about it. Yeah, and we was kids, we nicked them as kids. It was only about 9. Do you know what I mean? It's crazy. Yeah, mad. And, you know, and my life just changed, yeah. I was always fighting my brother Keith, fighting Dinah, my mum. She got pregnant, she had another baby called Jackie, and everything was, then she met a guy called Bob, then she married this guy called Bob Hill, and my stepfather. My mum, mate, the day my mum would come with him to meet me, yeah, I'll never forget this day, yeah. I just got out of the swimming pool, and I was dressed like a tramp, really, long shorts, you know, shirt that was all buttoned up, upside down as a kid, you know, top, do a button up here, and it's like, and it's just, you're playing too quick on all it anyway. And then I had these shoes on, lace-up shoes, and I couldn't do the laces up, couldn't do a knot in the lace proper. I was useless, and my mum came along with this guy, and my mum, I've never seen my mum really happy like that. My mum's face changed, yeah. She was just so beautiful, my mum. And I've got pictures of my mum, but my heart when I look at them, she's in front of me now, yeah. And my mum, she was, 1 minute. This is my mum, yeah. This is my mum when she was very young. Look at my mum. She was absolutely stunning, my mum. She was so beautiful, mate. She was absolutely stunning. Look at her hair, man. And my mum, when my mum was really bad, yeah, that's my mum later on in life. But she's still, you know what I mean? I think my mum was about 90 there. Beautiful, man. Anyway, my mum was such a beautiful woman, yeah. And she just couldn't cope with me the way I was. I was always fighting. And she knew. And all the others were different to me, yeah? And it was all me being sexually abused that it just changed my life. And from when I see my mum's face with my dad, Bob, it made me happy, yeah? It made me happy, but I just went crazy. You know, started working in the blacksmiths across the road from my house, getting stronger and stronger as a kid, picking up metal, putting them in the racks, doing the drill, you know, and things like that, and, you know, just getting money, just going mad, really, and then buying sweets for my brother, my sister, and then getting the shops, nicking everything out of the shops, and then meeting people, getting older, 10, 11, and then robbing post offices. We robbed the post office when I was about 11, 9, 10, 11. It's crazy to do that as a child. You know, going to the post office and you see these big fucking drawers, they pull these drawers out, nothing, there's a bit of glass here about 2 inches fucking high, and they're pulling these things out and they've got all that money in there and you're jumping over the counter and nicking the money. You know, kids. me and Leslie, only kids doing it, but you're kids, you know, you don't know what's right, what's wrong, you're just doing it, you know. And, you know, and you change. You know, you start buying yourself jeans and things like that, and it's just your life starts changing, you know, and then you start doing robberies. Anyway, look, it's just about to let people know, yeah. There's always more robbery. My life goes on from there, robberies and people are hurting my life, yeah. But this is just about things that happened to me as a kid, sexually molested, and how it can change someone's life, yeah. How it can make someone like myself, yeah, do 26 and a half years in prison, you know, and people are going, well, was you meant to be that person, or was you sexually abused and it made you that person? Sometimes I think I was made to be that person, and then I think, no, maybe because I was sexually abused, it completely fucked my head up, completely ruined the way I think about things, my mindset, everything, just fucked it all up in my life, yeah? My life just went upside down, you know, you know, and for me now, I mean, this goes on, but for me now, yeah, so maybe walking down the road and hearing kids cry, you know, in the house, I'm always thinking, are they being abused? When I see people dragging kids down the road, are they kidnapping them kids? Do you know, like, it goes for your nut, you know, and do you get involved with it, you know, and you can't, you know, it's just fucked up. But I feel that there are people out there that can help people like I was, that are in prison for, but people don't want to help them, yeah? They're physically, mentally and sexually abused as kids, and they go in prison and no one wants to help them. It isn't their fault. It isn't their fault. Help them kids. Help them. Help them from an early age. You know, see what it is. Or do you want to see it? Don't know. Is it people like them people that sentence these kids and do these kids? Are they the people that do these things to these young kids? I don't know. Anyway, this is Bang Bang Rail. I am going to go on maybe tomorrow, go on a little bit more about the way my life was and what happened to me and all that. But, you know, personally, as a child, I mean, listen, this YouTube, yeah, this YouTube has done fantastic things for me, because I've never been able to talk like I talk to people out there and tell them what's happened to me in my life. I'm talking to you out there and telling you out there what happened to me as a kid, as a child. And there's people out there watching me now that the same things happened to them and they need help. Anyway, this is Bang Bang Roll. Please like and subscribe. Nice one.